just have to let all these people in the waiting room in.
So we make up names. We don't have to put our own name.
No, unless you want to kill somebody. If you're like Lori Kavanaugh, then we know who it is. But yes, you got name, places, or like settings, weapon and motive.
And
Okay.
settings can be like Sturbridge Village.
Yeah.
A class reunion, you know,
Yeah.
Disney cruise.
Okay.
Somebody did the assigned reading.
I like that.
How about a daughter away at summer camp?
Yeah, who doesn't write home or only shows up in the background of
She
pictures.
has written for.
Yeah, she did, that's right. But she's only in the background of pictures, which I love.
Yeah.
I did not mean to just-
Cover.
We see her.
So let's see, I want to lock us on this, the main thing here. Let's see. Pin. There we go. Okay. I think that's everything, so. You can pull the
I'm
phone.
distracted.
This one.
This one,
We will give a few more minutes for,
stragglers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if there's
well-
people online, they can make suggestions and we can
Yes.
write them down.
no one has their cameras.
Oh, okay, well, is
We
there
don't
a
need
chat
to
or
see them.
something?
No, do we have the chat?
Yeah, I think the chat is. I will bring the chat up. There we go.
How many do you think we need?
Oh, just a couple.
And I can control the camera, so when we need to actually look over
You're
the,
gonna direct.
at the board.
We can put in more than one.
Yeah.
Oh, please, yeah, write a couple suggestions
Yeah.
down.
There we go.
So can they hear us?
Can you all hear us?
Give us a thumbs up.
Yes, but what are we supposed to be suggesting?
We're
You can hear us, I wanna make sure.
Yeah, we haven't really started yet.
But we are taking suggestions for names, settings and places, weapons and motives. And if you put them in the chat, we can write them down for you and stick them in the bags, so. Well, and you don't have to put your name on it, like you don't have to tell us that you're the ones killing people. Unless you want to, unless this is like a safe space for
Let's see, where
confessions.
can I put the chat, so it's kind of,
The Warren is very much like a priest. He can't tell anything that happens outside
Nothing
of this
breaks the
room.
sanctity of the library.
yeah. I mean, this will be recorded, so.
Oh, that's unfortunate. And I assume we are going to 8:30, correct?
Yes,
Okay,
so maybe I'll give like 5 more minutes for.
that sounds wise.
Come in.
Yeah, we tried to get a few friends. and not-
All right, are we getting some suggestions?
Oh, yeah, I've got some written down, but I'll let
Okay.
you keep writing.
All right.
I gotta get to the wine.
Feel like I should.
I'm writing Nicole or-
Yeah, so
I missed that one. I'm gonna build the thing. I was doing that. a minute ago.
Already.
Did you make any suggestions, Dale?
Oh, I can make some suggestions, all right. Oh, you mean good ones?
Yeah.
Oh, no,
Ooh,
I do
red
not.
control.
I do not have my
Yeah, city
writing
lady.
implement with me. It's over in my bag.
Oh, there's a lot of pencils and pens.
Here.
Ah,
I have
those
my
would be
pencil.
useful. Checking out your pencil?
Well, it's not my pencil. so-
Okay, what does everybody want to see first? For suggestions.
Usually start with names.
Okay. What's your protagonist name again, Joanna?
More coming in.
Oh, a lot coming in, yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Well, butcher shop. That sounds like a midsummer murders thing.
Yeah.
Anna stole an idea for a book.
Oh my gosh, I was thinking, I was working on a couple.
Yeah,
I
like-
might have had that today. All right.
Interesting. Nightclub, I feel it's very Dale coded.
Yeah.
Like a D note, no, like in a dark,
I'm getting called out here.
no, that it's like a dark setting, a nightclub. Cause you like dark settings in books.
Oh,
Me?
I forgot. Just did another-
Come on, they're out at Fort William State Park. I mean, it's sunny, it's lovely. Here's a name thing, if you can please.
That's a name, a place.
Alright.
Oh,
This is setting.
let's see, I've got setting, person, weapon, what am I missing?
Motive.
Oh, yeah. that-
Why would they want to kill somebody?
Oh, yeah, that is important.
I think the view will change once we start going. We'll
Yeah,
move the bags, don't worry. You'll see everybody's smiling faces,
and I can also control the camera.
maybe up a little
It's like the
bit.
Twilight Zone.
All right.
No, that was the Outer Limits, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
so
right.
motive. Am I supposed to
Oh,
hold
dude,
these?
and I just-
Ideally, yes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But then weapons in the setting.
Well, when we open it, we'll be like, this doesn't seem like- maybe it's promoted the setting.
Yeah, well, that would just make it very confusing.
We can figure it.
Doesn't have
That's
some
my
weapons
setting.
here.
So I think
I
the,
folded mine with the same.
depending on the range of the camera, the person to get is actually gonna be Nicole, who's writing the stuff down.
Okay, so I will,
Good thing I put makeup on today.
And you wondered why you were doing it.
I knew there was a
Did you
reason.
find a weapon? in there?
Okay, well, no.
Oh, thank you.
If you pick a weapon today, that's what it is, wrong place.
So how does this look fresh? God,
so there we go. And
I thought you just got,
lock it over there.
give me a few minutes to swelter.
Looking at it.
Right, your weapons. I find that easy.
Well, we were just talking names.
Hi there, come on in.
I'm doing like my
Oh, no,
third
it's
book,
not
and I'm like,
here.
everybody's got an M name, and then I can't think of, and they're like, that
Right,
changes. at least
yeah.
once.
Let's
And
see
I'm
if
like,
there's a,
there are no other
Never
names.
know the name.
Like, they're all is.
so anyone waiting to be admitted?
I tried to get
No? Okay.
more about why you're doing this and what happens when you choose a particular thing. If you choose a name versus, in a crime, sometimes there's hardboiled versus cozy versus thriller and all of that. So I try to give them a reason for what we do, why we do, and why we pick a particular thing and we start settling on something.
So what kind of talking are we doing?
Yeah, just that. We start talking about ideas that we got from the suggestions. And then we start picking a few things. Say, what would you like to see for these names here, these 6, 7 names? What would you like to see for a victim? And they'll pick a victim or they'll pick a criminal or something. They say, that interests me. And then we just riff from there. They go, wow. that
Okay,
really-
so we're at
that
around
made conjures to me.
Yeah, we should get going.
7:10 now, so.
Yeah, we should start.
Yeah.
Although we're.
And then everybody leaves.
That's right, we still have
Oh,
our
nice.
online audience, so.
Nice.
that's what it is. We got a good.
Joanna's getting
online audience.
flashbacks.
So I think we're about to get started.
I would.
Sorry.
Do not be, please. That's,
I had seen her in,
It's okay.
So,
this is where everybody comes to me. It's just like Cheers.
so either you can introduce yourselves and give bios, or I can do it, whichever you
Alright.
prefer.
Why don't we introduce ourselves?
All right.
You wanna go?
I'll introduce Nicole.
I'm Nicole Asselin, some of you I know. I write the Ballpark Mystery Series, which are set in Abington, which is right down the street, 15 minutes away, because it wasn't that far. They're cozy mysteries set at an independently ballpark, loosely based on, Red Sox love. And there are lots of Red Sox Easter eggs in it. The third book is coming out hopefully later this year. I just turned it in, so we'll see what happens. So that's it.
I'm Joanna Schauffhausen, and I write 2 mystery series, both helmed by a tough-minded female detective, one in the Boston area and one in Chicago. They're sort of hard-nosed police procedurals. The first one is loosely based on a couple of real people from the Ted Bundy story. And the second one is about a female detective who makes a decision that blows up her entire personal and professional life.
I'm Kate Conti. I'm also Liz Mugavero. So I have 3 series, 2 names. Under Kate, I write the Cat Cafe Mysteries and the Full Moon Mysteries. And then under Liz, I write the Positively Organic Mysteries. They're all cozy series.
That's it? That's all?
So
Yeah,
what else do you
this is
want?
supposed to be
Better CV than that.
Happy Dale.
Snappy, okay. Hi, I'm Dale T. Phillips, Scary Books and Murderous Crooks. See some of them over there. I've got a mystery series set in Portland, Maine, plus a lot of other genres, scary stuff, standalones, short stories, all kinds of interesting things. So we're here tonight to make things interesting. We're gonna plot a murder with your help.
Fictionally.
He's like, oh my God, what are they doing? No, you were never
Just
here.
put in, You're good.
You were never here. We didn't even see you.
You showed up after we'd already written everything
Yeah.
down.
Yeah, those are all mine, yeah, and they're available for sale, so.
So we can move that chat maybe if it's.
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
obtrusive.
probably
I don't know
a good idea.
quite where else I put it though.
Yeah, you can close it.
I just wanted people to be able
Welcome,
to.
welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming here and thank you for all our online folks. Oh, goodness. Oh,
They
okay.
thought it was a how-to seminar. Well, I won't tell you how to run your life. That's all I'm gonna say.
And I'll just
We
make
cannot
sure
condone.
there's,
The thing is, people should be really nice to us because we plot murders all day long and how to get away with it. And we talk to law enforcement officials, we talk to forensic experts, we talk to people in the criminal court system. So
And
we
we
got
watch a lot of Dateline.
Funeral home owner.
homeowners, yeah,
So we know how to get rid
Maybe
of
I.
it.
exactly.
Dale, is the name in front of you, the name badge?
I think so.
I do not know. That's on the other side.
You can pick.
Oh, you want me to
Yeah,
pick?
what's
So the first,
Ooh, okay.
first thing you need are some characters. So we're gonna pick some names. Probably start with about 6 or 7.
See, she's already giving me side eye because she knows how I get. Ooh, Colleen McGuire.
Good Boston Irish name.
Good one. There we go.
And I apologize in advance for any spellings.
MAGUIRE.
You've already lost me. What?
UI, user interface. All right,
All right, Colleen, who else we got?
your turn.
Sharon Duran.
Jaron Duran.
Duran Duran?
Outfielder for the Boston Red Sox?
Oh,
What?
no.
I wonder who did that
Who
one.
put that one in?
Okay, this is how much.
You mean
I
all-star?
I couldn't even pronounce.
Don't
the
worry
name.
about it. That's the one you can pronounce. There's a lot of them you can't.
Oh, this one's interesting. It just says Taylor, like Madonna.
Ooh,
And it could be male or female.
Right.
Taylor's gender.
Taylor Sheridan, who does all the TV shows.
All right, Nicole, you want to pick one?
Do my ever.
She even put up makeup to be here
I
for
know, I
you
put
folks tonight, so be
I
nice to
did.
her. Hey, it's my daughter.
You want to pick any of the virtual?
Yeah, the virtual.
If some people.
Well, we wrote them all down.
Oh, you
Yeah,
wrote it
yeah.
down.
This one's blank. It's a choose your own adventure.
Oh, the shadow.
You could say what, like a unknown
Alias.
narrator.
Yes.
Ken Cleary.
Ken Cleary?
Ken Cleary.
He sounds like a cop.
He does.
Yeah, well, there you go. See, that's the thing. When we start getting names, we start immediately to form connections around them. So Ken Cleary is like, yeah, that sounds like a cop. Great. Okay, so let's go in that direction. We start thinking about what a cop would do in this situation.
Okay, we've got 3 on this one. Race Bannon.
Great.
Race,
It says
R-A-C-E.
Yeah,
Maybe a literal race car driver.
maybe.
Could be a nickname.
Lydia Atherton,
Atherton?
Atherton.
These are real people, we apologize in advance.
Well, this next one's a real person, Jasmine Starr. She's a business, an entrepreneur.
Oh,
Yeah.
and Jared Duran's real,
Oh.
so.
This is getting a little, like, we're not gonna get sued for this. are we?
No, It is being recorded though.
Ah, I don't
Two
know.
Rs, star with 2 Rs?
Yes. I think that's a good,
Yeah, I think that's a good list.
good list.
We just have to have the disclaimer at the beginning.
Right.
Any similar.
No actual people will be
Right.
killed.
Like law and order,
Purely
yeah.
coincidental.
All right.
What
I'm gonna-
are your weapons?
Yes, we do have to put that at the front of our books because you'd be surprised what people do.
Poison apple.
Ooh,
Very fairy tale-esque.
Definitely from a fantasy story. Your mind might start going that into urban fantasy.
Rope
classic.
For all you Hitchcock fans.
or clue in the conservatory with the rope.
Oh, the candlestick. Stiletto shoe. Oh,
City.
An oil painting.
oh my.
Ooh.
Dorian Gray.
Yeah.
All right, wanna pick one and we'll call it? All right, that's really,
Maybe like 2 more.
you think?
Yeah.
All right, 2 more.
I'm waiting for a classic.
Too many. Wine bottle.
That's not a classic, but I'll-
That's good because it can fit many different settings. We haven't picked a place yet,
Right.
so like, some of these could be hard to pull off. All right, what else we
Like
got?
you wouldn't necessarily find a poisoned apple.
We've already done poison.
How about a bowling ball?
Is that in the bag
It
there?
is. But who knows if she'll pick it?
Letter opener.
Oh, I love that.
That's classic.
All right, I think we should do setting.
Yeah, I
next.
agree.
Wanna start?
Sure.
So where are all these people?
Where would you like to see a crime take place?
In the library.
Yeah, that's a good one. I don't think I've
Cape Cod National Seashore.
ever. Cape Cod.
Leave it open.
Good.
The library.
Hey, fix. We don't want Warren getting too nervous here. Come
My name.
Nightclub in Miami.
on. Ooh,
Nicole, you wanna pick one?
don't say Fenway.
The why?
The why?
That's right next door, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, golly. A little close to home there, okay?
In the library though. They are in the library.
I feel like we have.
Good one. 19503 Hollywood. That's very specific. Hollywood.
Hollywood.
Yeah,
Hollywood.
Hollywood.
Yeah.
It's the address of my ex, what?
Oh, 1950s. Hollywood.
Oh,
God.
thank you. 1950s Hollywood, thanks, Tim.
Like, what?
That one?
Oh, that's, I'm thinking like.
You see, once we start thinking along one path, all the other ones go down the drains.
Used bookstore.
Used bookstore.
Let's do one more.
All right, one more.
Honestly, these
All
are
the
great.
Bibles.
These are great. I love them. I'm not drafting a 4th book or anything like, so just FYI.
You will be.
Family reunion.
I'm glad you did that one. That's a good one.
I did that. We had one in Somerville at one of these, and somebody suggested for a character Rocky the dog. You know, as a joke, because they had a dog, and I went, Rocky the dog, how would a person named Rocky the dog be? And I figured him, he was this tough guy, you know, in the city, and he had dog fights and things like that, and he was the guy that everybody was scared of. And I put that in a story, and that was a really good one. So you never know what this will spark.
Right. Done
All right.
setting, we've done,
We did not demote it yet.
yes, weapon, we're on motive.
This is always a fun one to see what we can put in.
Yeah.
Why did
Why,
the killer
why would
do
you
it?
kill someone?
Power.
Boy, we don't know anybody like that.
The thrill.
The thrill of it all.
You'd think that was
That's
mine.
a
but yeah.
stereotype.
That's.
I have-
Sorry.
I have to have a really good reason. I mean, it's not just that.
That was a-
Oh, Somebody's fence is blocking their view of the mountains. Now, okay, now we've taken it probably to a rural setting, so.
Secret love child.
Ooh, always a good one.
That go with the library.
Yeah,
Warren's like, I ain't talking.
we got 2 librarians in this audience. We don't wanna offend any librarian.
That goes well with the family reunion.
Revenge.
Revenge.
A classic revenge.
I love y'all.
Last one?
Please. Yeah, let's keep one.
I can zoom in on the board.
Oh, another revenge.
People are heavily into revenge here.
Jealousy.
Jealousy, good. We'll go one more good one. Secret lover.
We said, oh, okay.
No, that's different from love child. Yeah, I know.
Cheating on the spouse or whatever, yeah.
And some of these are so kind of nebulous, when you're like jealousy, well, it could be jealousy of a person, it could be jealousy of a place, it could be.
Somebody's
jealousy-
job,
Right, exactly, and that's why.
Their
those are fun.
car?
Yeah,
their fence that blocks the view of the mountains.
People are jealous for a lot of reasons.
So where do you guys usually start? Do you start with the name? Do you start with the setting?
What would you like to see, folks? Where should we begin here?
Well, can I just add one more under there? I know I wouldn't.
Sure.
It's just, but that may not be in the genre of science fiction. I mean, can't you, is it possible to kill a person accidentally or randomly, you know, where you didn't intend to?
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
You-
and then they try to cover things up and then things get deeper and deeper. Yeah, that's a great one.
Adding accident.
Yeah, right.
so for me, my setting is very specific, it's a ballpark, so that kind of came first, I knew I was gonna write a baseball mystery, so for me, setting was most, I guess setting and character
I
are the
think
2
with
most
this
important.
game setting is
Yeah.
actually the most.
Yeah, for me, my mystery series was Portland because I love Portland so much, and all the big mysteries are LA, Chicago, Boston, that, I'm like, Portland, something different.
My vote
I
is
know one
family
mystery
reunion.
series setting.
I like that too.
1890s Portland.
Ugh,
You only wrote 2 of them.
That's 2 more than other people have,
really.
so,
Family
So,
reunion,
family
yeah, that can be,
reunion.
because you can kind of fit that into
you
a
can
lot of
have
genres.
any motive for that one,
Right,
yeah.
and I mean, you could have multiple motives in a family reunion.
And multiple victims.
Yes,
Exactly.
because you've gotta
Some-
have some red herrings too, besides the obvious killer, obvious victim, and, oh, that looks so simple. You wanna mix some stuff in to lead them down the trail. It's like, somebody might have the secret lover, but that might not be a reason for the kill. So you wanna mix things up a lot, have more than one thing going on.
But the thing about family reunion, are you as the author, you're not gonna try to describe all the people that are at the family reunion, you're taking a little spot, a little.
Yeah,
small
like you
yeah.
say, oh, the McDonald's got together for their family reunion, and it's 12 cousins and 13 grandnieces, and you're not gonna necessarily name all 13
Yeah,
grandnieces.
Or I get into them, yeah.
But you've got enough family dynamics to be interesting, to keep people going along with the story. Well, I wonder what Aunt Mabel's gonna do next, because you know, she's got a thing going on and she's not talking to Jeffrey, so.
Right.
Yeah, my husband's father is the youngest of 13.
Oh, my God.
And so the family reunions are like 150 people.
Good Lord.
Well, I'm the youngest of 7, so I know.
Yeah, that's big.
Our family reunions are 4.
I'm like 2.
When my girls come home.
But I do have a scenario that any of you all can inspire, is that I remember as a young kid, when I was 12, when we read a family reunion, my father had a child out of wedlock,
Ooh,
but it was in a small town. We were about 10,000 people in the Midwest. My aunt came from Chicago and she did not know all of this. The child that my father never, to the day that he died, he never acknowledged that he had a child out of wedlock, but he would say things like, "Oh my goodness, Doris, you look just like Stephanie."
Like, yeah,
Stephanie is the lead. She's not a lark. We were thinking, we didn't know.
right.
It wasn't, but later we found out it was an open secret. And
Yeah.
the only group that did know were the Lees and the Larkins.
And I think that that's why family reunion, it can go to all different genres.
Yeah.
So you can have the open secret where everybody's talking about it, but nobody's really saying anything.
Exactly.
And it's kind of like a thriller suspense kind of deal,
Yeah.
but then you can have the cozy side where, you know, they're in
Especially
a
if you
small
have,
town.
especially if you had a father that was like a patriarch.
Yes.
okay? So he was sitting in his so-called chair, and then Stephanie, the love child, you know, she was a neighbor, so we knew that she was a friend, but we didn't know that she was our sister.
Right.
And, my aunt, looked at it and said, "Oh, Doris, that looks like you."
Oh.
Everybody scattered.
I love that, yeah. Nope.
Oh, the pies are burning.
But yeah, so I think this, with starting with the family reunion, you open a lot of doors to so many motives, so many characters. I mean, obviously weapons are
And then we
weapons.
could have that be on the Cape Cod shore if we wanted. to
Yeah.
Right,
have
you
it.
could take a family, you
Okay,
could have a
good.
family reunion and
I guess you
it's
probably
Hollywood.
wouldn't do a
It could be
family reunion at a
1950s
nightclub
Hollywood
in
or the
Miami
Cape.
unless you were very.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's your family, maybe it's a different
Very
family.
specific.
So do we want to?
I would say which, okay, so
Cape
now you
Cod?
look at the names, what family? Is it the McGuire family, the
Right.
Dern family, the Taylors? The Cleary
Maybe that's it, maybe
family?
that's a last name.
Yeah, okay, that could be.
Or the star, I like the star.
Cleary
The Stars,
sounds like an
Star
Irish-
family.
Star family.
Or like, that's an alien, that's like her stage name and her family's
Yeah,
like. the
I'm thinking that
Atherton
sounds like a
family.
dancer.
She's a business person.
Okay, she's a business
I
dancer
think the Athertons sound like a Richie Rich who would have a big house
On the
on the
seashore.
Cape.
on the seashore.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that's, so like, and then Jasmine's like the daughter who
Mhm.
went out on her own.
All right, so
Hollywood, because we got a Hollywood
Do you
tie-in. She
want
went
to
out for a film career or TV career,
So-
and which is frowned upon by the family.
Lydia Atherton, the matriarch
Yeah.
then of
Yes.
this
That's a
family.
very
So
dignified name.
probably some of these others would get changed or added. So
Right.
Bridget becomes an Atherton, Taylor probably becomes an Atherton.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think we should keep Cleary the same.
yeah, you want to have, you
Oh, yeah.
want to have
So-
everybody have the same name
Right.
because then it gets confusing
Right.
for the reader to follow.
Cleary is the.
We just
friend-
talked about this before, because I did 3 names and they were all Michelle, Mallory, and Marcia, and my editor was like, not everybody has an M name, Nicole. And then I was like, are you sure? That's the only names I've ever heard in my entire life. I have never heard of any other names.
Nicole.
And so then I had to go through like the baby book and be like, oh, names, right?
Well, now, is she going to have, with, I know that you said that she, the mother founded on the career, but the daddy is sort of sympathetic to the daughter who goes to Hollywood.
Right.
He seems to be, you know,
that's Taylor.
supportive.
Taylor's the dad.
Yeah,
I don't know, that doesn't seem like an
Dick
old
Jared.
name to me.
No.
No, he's new money. That's the trouble.
and
because
it's
he's
pretty
already there.
I was almost thinking Ray Bannon. It sounds like one of those names from like 1920.
Mhm.
That
Well,
like,
it was-
oh, race.
In the Johnny
I'm
Quest
with you.
cartoon, he was,
And he
he
was
was
like a
the,
sailman.
A sailor?
he was the body.
Oh, no, guys, he sailed boats. is
He
what I
was, he was
trying to
Johnny
say.
Quest bodyguard.
Yeah, I don't know. That's before my time.
He's young.
Family reunion, there are going to be employees working there, and there's probably decades of history. So you're also going to have people that aren't Athertons that have connections, or the secret love child, or
Thank
jealousy,
you, yeah,
all that.
I like the idea of Ken Cleary being a cop.
yeah,
yeah.
that's what I,
But
Security cop.
I wouldn't even go that, I'd say he's part of the family, like sister-in-law, brother-in-law.
He's,
Like,
yeah,
just
he's
kind of there.
he's a married into the family.
Yeah, like he's not part, but that's, he just happens to be there when, and this incident, whatever we have. I guess that's the first question we need to ask. Who's gonna die?
Well, we haven't figured out who all these people are first. So I think you have to figure out who they are before you know.
Well, Jared Duran, we know is out because he's at the All-Star game. So he's like.
Oh, we
hitting
can
home
have a
runs.
Jared then. We can have a Jared at the
I
Rich
think
family.
Colleen McGuire is like the location planner person.
She's really good with words, folks.
She's like yapper and I cannot. put
The
words.
event coordinator.
Yes. That's the word I was thinking. So she's like their plan, she's like the person
Joanna
kind of making
Schauffhausen.
sure everything doesn't fall apart.
All right, let's nail down some of the other family members here.
Taylor.
If Race and Lydia are the patriarch and the matriarch, they need a couple of kids, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
mixed-
Jasmine is
mixed
one of
marriage,
them.
yes.
Bridget.
And Bridget will be another.
And Taylor could be like a grandkid.
All right, so one of these is the black sheep.
Right.
Who's the black sheep out of
Seems
Taylor,
like, yeah.
Bridget,
The one that
or
comes to Hollywood,
Jasmine?
remember?
Having the boy is the black sheep.
Yeah.
The boys are always
Like
the black
Taylor
sheep.
being the grandkid, maybe kind of, new. Maybe he's like a social media influencer and they're like, that's not my job.
He has a skateboard.
Yeah,
All right, if we're gonna make Taylor the youngest, and if he's a grandkid. And the black sheep. And- Well, she's sort of mixed,
yeah,
right? If they
because
have mixed
father,
feelings,
yeah.
yeah.
I think it's one of those where it's almost a red herring, because you're like, oh, she went out on her own to do this, so
Oh,
everybody
yeah.
must hate her and she hates the family.
I think Colleen, or the event coordinator, should be the victim. Because there's so much going on, but she overheard something
That's
that she
it.
shouldn't have.
It's very classic.
And
I know, but why does the outsider, I mean, the whole point of having the family reunion is to bring it in, so intimacy could be
It's
moved.
true.
but then they all
I
go
think so,
after each
too.
other.
we don't necessarily have to have one.
The
part.
family.
I know,
Oh,
Lauren,
boy.
that's a great point. We can
I
count.
think it's going to be the matriarch because they're going to be fighting over the will. And you
Okay,
also have
good.
to decide who's the detective. It seems to me that the coordinator is the one that sees everything and could also be the detective.
Now,
She could be the sleuth. It could be.
Liz and I would say, yes,
Yeah.
she is the sleuth because we're cozy and we
That
go with the
goes right to the
amateur.
cozy
Yeah,
genre.
we're not, whereas Joanna and Dale might say Ken is the detective, so he's gonna be the one investigating everything.
Maybe they have to work together.
And then they fall in love.
Yeah.
No, they're married, whatever, people are married, but that's a whole different.
No, not
conversation.
you don't have to be married.
Could be a
You
secret
could be a
lover,
cousin.
child.
Lover and a love child, perfect. I think I agree. I like the idea of either the father or the mother being the victim,
Mhm.
because then it promotes infighting.
All right,
Don't we have to decide on the motive before we know who's the victim?
You could do
She
it.
said the
we're
wheel, we're fighting over the wheel.
well,
But it
we,
kind of,
I
yeah,
think you
that
could do-
can be-
When we're doing it, we
Power.
never know the order things come to us,
yeah.
and then one thing tumbles to the next, to the next, to the
I
next,
think
so.
you could probably do, like, you could have multiple motives, not even multiple motives, but it could be an accident. You know, they were fighting over the wheel.
Looked like an
and
accident.
She fell
She
and hit
fell
her
down the
head.
staircase,
That's very so.
or
awkward,
was
which
she
I love.
pushed?
You could have revenge, like somebody was like, she wronged me in a past, or you could even have, she built the compound too close to the water and now she put a fence up and now we can't see the ocean and da 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 da.
I
So
can't
like,
see the wind farm.
it's hard, yeah, sometimes I like to pick the victim first, because then I can kind of mold a motive
Yeah,
around
there will
them.
be multiple motives in
Well,
here
yeah.
because you'll have multiple
Oh,
suspects, each
family?
with their own motive. And
But
one of
since-
these will win out.
Right, but since, she was talking about they were fighting over the wheel, power would also be
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
great intention, you know, you want all.
So I think
all the
we've
money
decided
for-
Lydia is definitely the victim.
All right.
We're gonna off Lydia.
Lydia is,
At least the first victim.
yeah, the
Yeah.
first victim.
I don't think we should.
Warren,
That's a good
you're
title,
worrying
Lydia.
me a little bit. Worrying me a little bit. So Lydia is at this family reunion, they're having a grand old time and she's holding court, and then how does she die?
I think falling down the staircase, because you have the,
That's not one of the options,
That's not
Dale.
on the list.
Yeah,
We got wine
there's a
bottle,
question.
Yeah, we could have
Yeah.
poison.
Wine bottle.
but letter opener seems.
Okay.
letter opener is classic. We can imagine the rich person has a very fancy
But would
letter
they have that
opener.
at the party?
I mean, it depends on where
That
the
is,
family reunion
actually, I was
is.
just gonna say, isn't that the house
Right.
and coordinated with this big mansion with Colleen? who's like,
Oh,
I
it's
need
at the
a new
mansion,
house.
it's at the mansion,
So
and
she
upstairs.
found in a study.
So the letter opener was upstairs in the study. Who
Then
was
you could have
upstairs?
The oil painting too, where it fell in.
Oh, yeah.
Plonk her on the head.
I don't know how heavy oil paintings
Yeah,
are,
I
so,
don't
I
think
guess the
that.
frame.
yeah, the frame would
That's
be,
a tough one, yeah.
yeah, that'd be hard, but I could
Or
see
she
that.
could be garroted.
Exactly, that's what.
Or if it was a really bad oil painting, she died of shock or shame.
Because we're assuming Lydia is an older woman.
Yes. I
Right,
think
like,
so.
She's a
got
matriarch.
right,
grandkids,
she's got
so-
grandkids that she's.
She's
an
at least
older woman.
40.
So she's probably, I also think she's like, that Reese is kind of like the trophy husband.
Oh,
He's-
yes,
He's of
absolutely.
age, he's the same age.
He's not her first husband either.
Right, but that he doesn't really run anything.
He's 20 years younger and
Oh,
nobody
so, you know,
trusts him to
obviously
run
he's the same
anything.
age, But,
I think
So-
Lydia should be really house proud and there should be all these oil paintings of family ancestors. And then one of those brains her.
Nice.
Oh, yeah, and the oil paintings are those ones where the eyes seem to follow you around. They all-
you do, I just don't know.
The idea of the
Old
oil
man
painting
Perkins.
revealing the secret love child.
Yeah,
Like, you know, there's the
Oh, a Dan
ancestor.
Brown thing.
And somebody shows up at the reunion, maybe as a caterer, like she's thought that she
She's like,
was
"I
a
love
member
this."
of the family, and so she's crashing it as a caterer to see and like get in and maybe get some DNA to like test it, and then she looks just like one of these paintings.
like a great great grandfather.
You know?
Or
Nice.
either, early on that the lady knew that her husband had a child, brought the child in for a sort of painting, and her kids and grandkids are figuring out,
That's a
what is
whole
that
secret.
secret? We don't.
Who is that anyway?
But I also like the idea of the secret child being Lydia's, like that Lydia had a baby, however many moons ago.
Right.
Nobody else in the family, not the open secret, it's literally nobody else
The
in the family
shame.
knew, right, it was a shameful thing that happened.
Okay.
And like Joanna said, Colleen happens to be at this party and she happens to be the secret daughter, didn't know, and she's like, wait a minute.
That
I
painting
look
looks like me.
Every great grandparent, yeah.
Rebecca.
And that undercuts her whole image.
But why was they
Right.
killed for over a secret like that that's been going on for years and years? Is it a question of the will? That-
Yeah.
that should
Could be.
It's probably the will, it's probably like, where it's at the image, she's this staid matriarch of this grand family on the
Right.
Cape and this secret girl. She's got red hair because she's a McGuire, and Lydia's like, no, sir.
Yeah, this is
A redheaded stepchild.
Yeah. And so that's,
Actually, can I say something that, my father, I think, was intelligent when he realized that it's going to be conflict.
Yeah.
When I go, so I'm going to separate Stephanie, and she will have all of her stuff separate from.
Right.
Because my family was sort of, especially the women were sort of vicious, because.
you need to have your own presentation. Great, I'm into
He's
it.
working out some issues. That's okay.
No, that's good.
And you know, I wanted to also
We need a
say,
second
this is a
whiteboard.
true story, that when I was a 13-year-old boy, I was the one that discovered that my daddy was going with the neighbor.
Mm.
And the way that I discovered it is that one time I played sick that I wouldn't have to go to school. And he said, okay, boy, you're sick, you gotta go upstairs. So I go upstairs and something told me, look down.
Okay.
I looked down and my father was down on this number. I swear to you, I remember this number to this day. 5212174. Hey, baby, how you doing? And I said to myself, that don't sound like.
No.
my husband, you know what's called? But I didn't say anything, but I followed them too, and he caught me catching them, and I was terrified, came back to the house, and he threw me against the wall, choked me,
Oh,
and said,
that's
you could
terrible.
be
Yeah.
responsible for the murder of several families, because she was married as well.
Oh, my
You
God.
clearly need to write your own.
Yeah.
Have you thought of writing a book?
Yeah. Oh, my God. That took a turn
I
out of
think he has
nonsense.
actually.
So let's go back to the applicant.
Fiction.
Or have to,
Right.
depending on the regs. So the oil painting, I don't think that's the weapon. I think it's a clue.
It's a clue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a clue that the secret daughter was like, wait a
You know how to
second.
spell clue?
It's getting late and much. This is why I'm not a teacher, guys.
Motor, irritation.
Lori's never gonna invite me back to the other library. She's like, that Nicole turned awfully mean. I think the letter opener is the,
A nice antique letter opener from upstairs, but who was upstairs at the time?
well, I think Lydia
Because
was.
everybody else was downstairs in the patio.
I think what you could say is, well, I guess that leaves, who do we want to be the killer? Do we want the secret child to be the killer? Or is it one of the family members who's like, you're not worming your way into this.
Wants that
family, so I'm
inheritance
gonna-"
before the will is changed,
Right.
right? Before the secret kid gets
Can say.
gets
Because
recognized.
maybe Lydia found Colleen looking at the picture and the secret came out and they started to reconcile and she's like, oh, on Monday, I'm gonna go talk to the lawyer
Nice.
and I will change my will to include you because I've always wanted to keep you. But at the time I was unmarried and I couldn't, da, 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 da. I always wondered where you were. And so they were friends. But everybody automatically assumes that she's the one that killed him because we don't know you.
But what's Bridget's story? So Jasmine's a famous movie star and Taylor's the social media influencer and Bridget might just be a little socialite.
Like, yeah.
Hoping to be set for life.
That's social.
I was thinking we should even
She was
more-
always hoping to get the money.
Yeah.
Right? Like she's been mommy's pet, and done everything.
My
Lydia
daughter a
asked
killer.
her All these years
Yeah.
with the expectation
It
that
would
doing
happen, right.
everything Lydia wanted meant like she was
Right.
gonna inherit the estate. And then along comes
And
Colleen.
everybody loves Colleen.
Yeah.
And maybe Bridget's husband is really a
There we
scammer
go.
and he doesn't have a lot, he
Yeah.
lost all their
Because
money.
Bridget
or
herself
something,
can't do
she's
it, but the
depending on that
husband's
money
like,
to
Yeah.
live.
yeah,
I like
nice,
that.
nice.
That he's been scamming her this whole time in the expectation that she was gonna get the inheritance.
Yeah.
So we're gonna make Ken then the husband?
I thought Grace was the husband.
Well,
He's-
Grace is Lydia's.
So
husband.
Oh, okay, that's right.
The patriarch.
Yeah, he's kind of just
Sort of.
And believe me, we have to do
Like,
whiteboards and
like
post-it
you
notes
know,
to keep
like,
track of
well,
everything we
like,
do.
that's
We
how I
got
feel here.
18 people and 12 are suspects, so we got the inspector, the vicar.
And what about the husband, I mean, Kenna, what is it supposed to be? He knows the secret and he's using it to get money, more money out of it.
Blackmail.
Wow.
Yeah.
He would try it, yeah. If he's a scammer, he would use whatever.
You betcha.
Don't you need multiple people to have motives too?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
always,
so there has
always.
to be another motive. It can't just be all about the secret love
No.
child.
And that's why then we go back to Bridget and her husband, and Bridget thought she was gonna get all this money and
Right.
power, and then,
You might add in, we have this list of characters, but you might add in like a neighbor, and maybe the neighbor is mad that, Lydia built something, a wall or whatever, a fence blocking their sea view or their nice view of the cape.
and so she sends threatening letters, and
Yeah.
so then they're like,
Yeah.
who's this
That's
Mr.
good, that's
Kravitz?
good.
Like,
So maybe there's an angry neighbor red herring in here that has one of these other motives.
And maybe Lydia is particularly scathing and said something particularly nasty that ruined someone's reputation.
Yeah,
She would have to be kind of mean,
I think
have a
she's
mean
mean.
side.
but she's softening when she found out about
Yeah.
this, so nobody knows that side of her, except at the family reunion, when she starts to, well,
Well,
this
I'm
new.
curious to know
young
that
woman.
did Lillian's mother and father agree with getting rid of the love child?
They
I would
forced
say
her.
probably.
Yeah, they forced her to do it, yeah.
Yeah.
I would say it's like one of those old Newport
New England.
families, and
You betcha.
she got pregnant by like the gardener, and they were like, not in our house, and sent her to France.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
For
And
9
that would be
months.
the thing is in a real mystery, like the dad would show up too.
Yeah.
Like you know, that long ago gardener or
You would
whatever
go-
would come back and he would
Yeah.
be the neighbor or
Yeah.
something else
Yeah.
too, you know?
Depending on how many words you need to get
How
in.
complex do you want to make this? Exactly.
Yeah.
You got 80,000 words to solve all of this. Set it
I'm
up.
not good with
and
time,
solve
so
it.
I was thinking that the 1950s is when all this happened, and then it's all coming out at the
In the
reunion.
current day.
Okay, that can work.
Does that math
That
work?
can work.
I don't do math,
I
guys.
think the patriarch should have some kind of
Yeah.
motive too, because we should
Might have to
suspect
move to
him
the
with a name
60s
like
now.
Riggs.
Well, he said.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like a
no
real
power.
name.
That's what it sounds like, one of those rich people names that they just make
Oh, that,
up.
they do that, yeah.
Dan Johnson, that seems like a weird name, but.
I mean, that could be another motive is maybe if Race is younger and was like a trophy husband, he might have been like thinking Lydia would have kicked the bucket by now and he would have gotten his share. And he's been waiting and.
I'm waiting.
If you really wanna get crazy, he's a secret serial killer.
Yeah, or, yeah, you
That
never
was
know.
killed for years. And nobody
And
ever
Lydia just found out.
Now it's Joanna's book.
Actually, this feels like a hero, like the thrill of the kill. Ooh, there's a title for
Yeah.
it.
But this reminds me of that Newport story. What was his motive?
Which
The
one?
count or whatever his name, who was English
Oh,
American, remember that?
Yes.
And Alan Derkovich was the lawyer.
Oh, yeah, Jeremy Irons played him.
He went to Scotland, was
Well,
it that guy?
he gave her insulin
Yeah.
and then
And
she
he-
didn't die,
he
but
left-
Klaus von Bülow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the name. I knew it sounded.
so like, it's not completely far-fetched. It's
Well, do
gonna
you
happen.
think that
I
he
don't
really killed her, or was it really an accident, or is this a health problem? I never really.
accident.
Well, probably, yeah.
Well, that's so you can have a fight happen and it's not so much the murder, that's the problem.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
somebody pushes the matriarch down the stair, like she just is like, get away from me, and the mother falls and she's like, shit.
Onto a letter.
Yeah, onto a letter. Like, again, like Scooby-Doo, it goes
A
to
letter
her
opener
head.
that for some reason is sticking up.
Yeah, more of the
I mean,
wine
come
bottle
on now.
that broke earlier in the night because Colleen dropped it when, yeah, like there's so many
She got
ways
so
to do
drunk
that.
that she
Yeah.
couldn't.
All right, which of these people do we want to be the killer then? The actual killer? Should it be one of her kids
I
or
think it's Bridget.
you think Bridget, the one who, the daughter who's
You
been
really don't like my
frustrated all
daughter,
these
do you?
years?
Cause she's so torn up by this death. She's so torn up. And so everybody's like, oh, Bridget's not. Maybe she's like like you were saying, she's the daughter that's
The
been
mama's
there.
girl.
She's boring. She's not like, she doesn't have a job really, or she's like a boring job, and I'm gonna offend people, accountant, like just boring and no.
Personal
offense to
stories,
accountants.
I think she doesn't work at all.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, they're a rich family.
Social media.
Just lives in the house and just.
I think she's
lives
just
off the
your
money.
mama's bitch, you know,
Yeah.
like whatever.
Wow.
That lives there, and he kind of feeds this kind of for paranoia, and it's like, now that they're getting close, you
Exactly.
better
Yeah.
get in there before. So maybe it's a dual killer, or like she killed her and he helped her cover it up.
And somebody else could have wanted it and somebody beat him to it, so.
If you make Bridget a bitch, then people are gonna suspect her right away, whereas if she's really sweet and boring, then you won't, and it could be that she had planned to use her inheritance to set up an animal shelter, and it was really a useful thing, and she'd been putting up with this awful mother for decades, and then was gonna lose it, and the animals would be hurt, and so it'd be more of a surprise.
What's this book?
You're adorable. That's like cozy mystery, and I'm like into it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, yep, that's right. in our
Definitely,
wheelhouse.
like for a cozy, you want some cute animals in
Yeah.
there.
If we're going to have it be an accident, I guess it could be Bridget was angry and grabbed the letter opener just to kind of scare her.
And the
And then
husband
she trips
finished
and
it.
falls onto the letter opener.
And the husband
Or
sees
the
it and
grandma-
then kills, she's still alive.
Right,
And Bridget runs out terrified. Oh my God, what did I do? Husband
that's
sees
the
it.
cover up.
Let me finish the job.
Yep.
And then he's a great
And
comfort.
that's,
to
yeah,
him.
and they hope they get the money. Little do they know,
Well,
Lydia already changed her will.
Yeah.
Oh.
that's-
Yeah.
that's-
There's like a second.
It's on fire.
Yeah.
Again, I watch a lot of Dateline. This is
Yeah.
pretty much every second. She lit up her room and
Oh,
then she
yes,
was
they
found
all
dead.
lit up, all the victims
Yeah.
light up a room.
And the husband is involved somehow.
They would give you the shirt off their back.
Yeah.
husbands.
If anybody ever says that about me, they're lying, so don't let them fool you. But yeah, I could see like they're holding the letter opener and they're arguing. She's like, Mom, it's for the animals. And Lydia's like, you stupid girl.
Maybe the letter was addressed to Colleen.
Yeah.
Yes, a secret
And
message.
Yeah,
And she-
Bridget comes along and opens it with the letter opener. Lydia walks in.
Right, yeah.
And there's a family reunion, but doesn't necessarily mean at the party. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
whole weekend thing. It could be that
Right.
She's checking her mail in the morning or after whatever.
A secret message with information in it.
Mm.
All right, I think this has come
Yeah.
together pretty well. We've got our killer, we've got our victim, we have a
It
bunch of
feels very much
suspects.
like a,
It needs a title.
it feels like a thriller, like a Nantucket thriller kind
Yeah.
of thing, like all
Well,
those,
Cape Cod Seashore.
yeah.
Yeah.
But even then, it feels very Newport, Cape Cod.
Mhm.
I'm bad at titles, I will freely admit.
Too. Oh, yeah, all my books are called I Hate Titles until the end when I have to.
I always go online, I'm like, anybody got some good baseball puns? Cause I got
What
none.
about one on the sea breeze?
I like, yeah, that's good. My current work in progress is called Here We Go Again.
I love that.
Yeah.
And Joanna's next title is Why Don't You Just Pick It? You
Yeah.
don't do anyway, so.
Can we ask each one of you, how did you start?
Yeah, this is
What was
the-
that?
You can ask.
Now that we have a title of Blood on the Sea Breeze by Nicole, Joanna, Liz, Dale.
And all of
and
you.
co. Yeah, now we can answer some questions. I don't know how you want to deal with that online. If you want them to chat the question or just
Yeah.
yell out,
Yeah, you can chat the question. I will bring.
because you're in the room, so you get.
I will bring the chat back up. Oh, it looks like some people have been saying things in the chat.
Oh, I hope they were good things.
Uh,
Yeah, that's
Like Knives Out, yeah.
oh yeah, here,
Oh, yeah.
okay, here we've got some titles.
Could we read them? Could we hear them?
Yeah, family reunions can be murder.
Nice.
That's definitely a
I
cozy
feel like
title.
there's like a Hallmark
Yeah.
movie, you know?
That's a cozy Hallmark murder
Yeah,
mystery.
kitchen knife, yep, these look good. I love them.
Blood on the Sea Breeze, because the Sea Breeze is a drink, isn't it? too?
Yes, that's
So
why. It's
yeah,
like a Cape Codder.
I like that. I love a Cape Codder. I go for one right now.
Mm.
And I don't even-
Warren, to the store.
Yes. Blood on the sea booties.
Yeah, but I like family reunions can't be murder if it's a sweeter mystery, if a mystery can be sweeter. You know what I mean? Liz knows.
Yeah, yeah.
We're on sync.
Yeah, family reunions can be murder. Sounds like it's more of a cozy,
Yeah,
kind of funny mystery.
yeah, this sounds like,
Like a sex like pot boiler.
yeah.
Yeah.
It started, they met in the nightclub in Miami. Over a Sea Breeze. The vodka crayon was hitting hard. She lit up the room.
But he was interested in how we got started into mysteries.
Well, I was an English major in college, but back then it was all angsty poetry, because I was an angsty 20-year-old. And then I had to get a real job. Because I like money and I like to buy things.
So writing became your.
So writing became my side hustle. I went to Malice Domestic, which is a conference down in DC, and I met a whole bunch of mystery authors, and pretty much to a person, they said, what would you write if you could? You're a reader, what would you write? And I said, well, I really like baseball. And that's kind of where the idea was born for the new series, so.
Well, I've written mysteries pretty much since I could hold a pencil. Like when I was in third grade, we had to write a weekly writing assignment where the teacher would give us the first line and then we had to fill in the rest. And most kids would write a paragraph and I would write like pages. But I became published a few years ago when I won the Mystery Writers of America First Crime Novel Award, which is an annual contest held for anybody who wants to get into this. So if you want to get your mystery published,
change the names and
yeah,
do it.
where it's open to anybody who has an unpublished crime novel of any genre. So cozy, detective, hard-boiled, domestic, whatever, just has to have a crime at its center. And then judges from the Mystery Writers of America whittle down the entries. There's usually between 350 and 500. Down to a handful, which gets sent on to the publisher, which is an imprint of Macmillan. And they pick a winner. And in 2016, it was me. Yay. And in 2017, my first book came out and the 9th one comes out in 4 weeks. That's this one, all the way gone. Yay.
So like Joanna, I was always obsessed with writing and I was always obsessed with crime. My parents thought there was something very, very wrong with me from a
And they were
very
right.
young age. They were very right.
For different reasons.
Ditto, yeah.
My grandfather was a detective, so I was
Ah.
always interested in his story, even though they had to be G-rated because I was still pretty young.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was obsessed with, like, my very first research paper was on the Charles Stewart case from
Oh, wow.
this area when I was like 13 or 14.
Wow.
And so I always just knew I wanted to write. So I started, I wrote my first novel as my grad school thesis, which will never see the light of day, it was terrible. And then I just started writing mysteries after that. And so I started going to conferences and, editing and pitching and rewriting, all the things for like 10 years. And then through Sisters in Crime, I had an opportunity to talk to an agent about creating a proposal for a cozy. And so we hit it off. We came up with a premise. I wrote a proposal. He sold it in like 2 weeks. So it was like
Wow.
10 years and then it happened overnight, pretty much.
Yeah.
So that was my first series, my Positively Organic. There's 7 books in that series. While I was writing that, I got an opportunity to write the Cat Cafe series. So I'm currently working with a different publisher, so I had to pick a different name. I'm currently working on book 9 in that series. And then after my Positively series ended with Kensington, they gave me the Full Moon series. So there are 3 books in that series. So I have 18
Lots.
published books.
Wow.
Well, sorry, 18 is coming out next week.
That's amazing.
I had Stephen King for a teacher in college, a writing teacher. So after that, you kind of got to do something with it,
Yeah.
although I don't know anybody else who has, but. And I wrote one book, which wasn't good, but that was a learning process. And then I wrote a mystery because I said, I always want to feature Portland. Poland is such a great place, and it's not like any of the big cities. He's a complete fish out of water. He doesn't know anybody. He doesn't know how things are, but Maine is a healing place, and he comes to find that out in the course of the investigation. And then I go, well, it was gonna be a standalone, but now I guess it's a series. And then he goes on to further adventures. Plus, I write a lot of other things set in all kinds of different places, Arizona, New Jersey, Ohio. I've written like over 80 published short stories. I put those into collections. I write help books for authors because they all ask the same questions. After 20 years, you keep hearing the same questions. So I'm like, okay, here's the answer.
Stop asking.
No,
No, I know,
it's in here. It's
Yeah.
all there.
but I will expand. Yeah.
And then we have great organizations like the Sisters in Crime, of which we're all members, yes, even me. The Mystery Writers of America, there's lots of other ones, all which help authors. And we go all over New England doing these kind of panels at libraries. We do signings at bookstores. Joanna and I were just on one, and Nicole and I were on another one, and you and I have been on something before, so, yeah.
Either
So-
have all four of you have written one mystery book, like a collective mystery book.
No.
Oh, no, with other authors, no.
Yeah.
That's a tough gig.
Yeah.
So it looks like we have a few questions
Oh,
online.
great.
So one of them is from Dean, from Grafton.
Hi, Dean.
Um,
Braintree.
Um, do you feel a murder mystery is better when there are multiple suspects or detectives on the trail of an unknown killer? I recently watched Seven, and the entire movie, there isn't really many suspects, just the suspense of why and who this person is.
That's a different story,
Yeah.
right?
It all
That's-
depends.
That's every episode of Columbo,
Yeah.
right? So, no, I'm not,
No,
and so there's lots of different ways to tell a mystery, and every episode of Columbo is that, like, we know, we, the audience, know who the killer is right up front, and then Columbo comes in, and he knows who the killer is right away, like, you can tell he knows. So then the reason we're watching is, how's the killer gonna screw up? How is Columbo gonna catch it?
Just one more.
So you really just only need one killer, one suspect, or one detective, and that's it to power a story. But there are lots of different ways you could do it.
And I think that's the difference between cozy and suspense and police not having a stroke, just hot. Because cozies, we're kind of like by the 5 rule, you have 5 suspects, you have 5 motives, you have 5 red herrings or whatever, hopefully. But I think in suspense, it is, the person, you know what happened, you know who did it. You maybe don't know why, but that's the whole point of the book, is to figure out why.
The idea is to keep the audience engaged. Now, are your readers the type that like to see the sleuth go after a particular person? Or are your readers trying to solve a puzzle? All the British murder mysteries, the puzzles, and they want to see the inspector question everybody in town and then try to put the pieces together. And it's more interesting to have more than one person too, because you've got this clash of characters, you've got the dotty old person who lives down the lane. You've got the vicar who's a little shady, you've got the young serving maid who may or may not have an agenda. So, it depends on the kind of thing you like, that you like to read, that you like to write, and what your readers like. So it all depends.
And there's a reader for everything.
Yes.
I mean, people are like, I gotta write to trends, I gotta write to trends. If one person likes your book, for me, that's kind of the important thing. Like, you don't write you write what you love because somebody else will love it. You might not know that person, but then you find them and then you're like, oh my God, you're my best friend, I love you. Just talk to me all the time, I love you. Thomas Ahern has.
He's my colleague.
Oh,
there's
is he
David.
like upstairs, like just typing on his phone?
No, he's actually at home today.
Oh, okay, then fine.
If he
His
was
question-
here, I'd expect him to actually
Be
be
here.
here.
Yeah, Thomas, what's the story here? Come on.
His question is, who are some of your favorite authors? They're all here.
Okay, well, yes, of course. James Lee Burke, Robert Craze, Robert B. Parker in the past, John D. McDonald, Harlan Ellison, Ray Bradbury, and then the list goes on and on and on. Yes.
Oh God, Dennis Lehane is my
Yeah.
number one.
I haven't seen
forever.
anything by him for a while.
Did you watch Blackbird though?
No.
Yes.
He
Freaking
just published
amazing.
one, I
Oh my
think.
gosh. Yeah, and something, Small Mercies just came out.
Oh, okay.
Tana French, she's amazing.
Yep, Hannah French.
I really like Lucy Foley. I love that multiple point of view, non-linear thing. Oh my gosh, El Cosimano, Finley Donovan, the best books, like they're so good. Her name's El Cosimano, the Finley Donovan mysteries.
Is it Finley Donovan?
Yeah, we share a publisher.
Yeah.
Joe Bannister from England, she's a great writer, and she writes these really strong novels that you're like, wow. I don't know how she's doing that, but it's great.
Peter Swanson,
I
another
know.
local guy. He's
Yeah.
awesome too. He
Yeah.
writes really interesting books about very unlikable people. And there's like, oh yeah, he's very good. And Edwin Hill,
Yeah.
another local guy.
Yeah, love Edwin stuff.
More?
She's like, I'm a kid, I don't have time to read.
No, I read, I grew
So
up on
thriller writers, who do you like the thriller writers?
Ed McBain,
Yeah.
I grew up on with the police procedurals. I like Lisa Jewell. Let's see, who else? Karen Slaughter.
No, yeah.
Um,
Lisa Gardner?
Yes, Lisa Gardner is my closest comp, actually.
Yeah.
There you go.
We're practically the same writer.
Meg Gardner?
I haven't read Meg. I'm
Oh.
sure she's fabulous, but I have not read her.
Yeah, what did I just read? No, for cozies, I've been a cozy fan for a long time. I like a good. I love a mass market paperback, so when cozies were all written like that, I was like obsessed. And we were talking earlier about Sheila Conley, who unfortunately is no longer with us, but she had my dream life of living in Ireland part-time, and her County Court Mysteries were just some of my
4 different
favorite.
series.
Yeah, she also had, there was a museum one
The
that I
Orchard one.
loved, and then the Orchard one. Also Kate Carlisle writes the Bibliophile Mysteries. She also writes the Fixer Upper Mysteries. Don't love those as much, no offense, Kate. I love the Bibliophile. I get them as soon as they're out, they're on hold at the library. I'm always the first one to read them at the library because they're in hardback now and I can't do hardback. Dale got me hooked on Simone St. James, The Haunting of Maddie Clare. And so now every time she has a book out, that's for some of us, and she's in Book of the Month a lot. So I always get her like a month
Nice.
early in Book of the Month. That's kind of a gothic-y, well, not even horror, but mystery with a ghostly twist. I read a lot of sci-fi lately, and I'm reading a lot on NetGalley, so I don't even know who the people are at this moment, because again, it's hot and it's past my bedtime, so brains no work. But if you go to my social media, I post about my favorite books all the time.
Dana Stabenow, she writes about Kate Shugiak up in Alaska. So it's different. You have a nice different setting and a flavor. It's very particular, that sort of thing. William Kent Kruger writes about like Minnesota and the lakes area up there, very spooky, which is also very good.
Yeah.
Also Barbara Ross.
Yeah.
my
Oh,
good
yeah.
author
Just finished her
friend,
series.
I haven't read it yet. I'm putting it off because I'm
Okay.
sad.
She
but
writes the
writes
main,
clan
yeah,
too.
I was gonna say the main clan bacon.
Yeah.
She's,
She ending it?
Yeah.
That's what just-
I know, she's
She's
like,
like retiring.
Leslie Meyer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
she's a
Yeah.
good one.
She's funny.
One that just came out by colleagues of ours, Sisters in Crime Mystery of America, Lindy Walker and
Yes.
Bruce Robert Coffin
Bruce,
just
yeah.
started a new series, and they're adventure mystery kind of things, like Clive Cussler, who I
Yeah,
also,
exactly.
I
That's
love
Clive
those
Cussler.
novels, and I've blown through the 2 that are out. The 3rd one comes out in October. It's The General's Curse and the
Gold.
Cardinals.
The General's Gold.
Yeah,
General's Gold
and the
Cardinal's
Cardinal's
Curse.
Curse, and then The Pirate Secret comes out in October, I think, and I tell them all the time, like, I'm obsessed.
Yeah,
Because it's a Clive Cussler novel without the misogyny.
Yeah, Bruce
And-
had police procedurals
Yeah.
because he was a policeman in Portland for 27
Right.
years. And so he wrote that. And then he switched to co-write, where you're talking about co-writers. It's like they get along great and they've got a terrific new series.
And Lindy's books on her own
Yeah.
are amazing. So she's got the high heel mystery.
Yeah.
What are they called? The
Oh, I
high
don't
heel?
know.
The Michelle Clark, I don't know if they're called the high heel. I can't remember, but she's a journalist who wears fancy shoes and they're awesome. And then she has the the Texas Ranger series with Faith McClellan.
And also, how did we forget Hank?
I know.
We all love Hank
There's so many
Phillips.
books to read.
Yeah,
There's
like,
so many authors. I
again,
can't remember.
Our trouble is not only what
Yeah.
we like,
Yeah.
we have all our friends who write books that we
Yeah.
have to read their stuff.
Yeah.
If I'm on a panel with somebody, I've read everybody on this panel. I have to read all of those. And so if you go to a couple of conferences, you've got a to be read list that's hundreds of books long.
Piled on the floor, in the bookcases, on the floor, in the bedroom. on
Ebooks,
the
print
Kindle.
books, audiobooks, no matter what, you
Talk
grab
to
it
the
all.
librarians.
I know, they're like, we get it, we get it.
Yeah.
We just came back to ALA, we get it.
You're going to Springfield in September?
No.
Oh, that's the small rural and independent library meeting there, not the regular.
Any other questions from our crew? You can reach out to Leslie and we would come to the Braintree Library, I'm just saying.
Yeah, good.
You can request us.
What kind of work schedule do you follow? Do you have like a set time that you write or a place that you write or anything like that?
Question.
I'm going to say what I always say because I feel like people need to hear this. If you can't write every day, that's okay.
Thank you.
I have a full-time job, so during the week, I very rarely write for pleasure, because I get out of work, I work from home. I got off work at 5, and the last thing I want to do is stare at a computer screen for a few more hours. So most of my writing's done on the weekends, and I think, and I don't have kids, so like I can only imagine people with kids and jobs. And I always get when people are like, set a schedule and write every day, write how it works for you. If it works for you to do it at 5 in the morning, I know people do, good for you, but that ain't me.
She's right next to you.
I know,
Don't you have a set schedule?
No. I mean,
you try.
I don't have a schedule. I mean, I have contracts, so I have, a place at which I have to deliver the book. And then I sort of back up from there. And like ideally, it's 6 months. So I'm generally 12 weeks from 0 to 100,000 words. And I write about 2,000 words a day, Monday through Friday. And one of the reasons that I do this is because I like to keep everything sort of in my memory as I'm going so that I can get that first draft. So I try to get it down as quickly as possible. And then I use the next months to go back and edit. And then the other 6 months of the year, I'm usually thinking about what I want the book to be. Because ideally, if I have thought about it enough, when I get down to writing the draft, I'm mostly just downloading all the stuff I thought about, and that's why I can do it so quickly. But I have a kid and I mostly write when she's in school.
Yeah.
Or it can't.
Or at camp, yes, she's away at camp this summer.
We don't know. We've never seen her in a picture.
I know, it's rumor has it she's
She's at
away
camp.
at camp. If you follow me on Facebook, it's sort of like trying to spot Bigfoot in
Yeah.
a picture.
Or
It's just like-
Waldo.
It's like, what's her head in the background? It's like, I think that's her.
It's cute.
Yeah, last year was the first year in 12 years. I didn't have two books to write during that year and I also have had a full-time job for all this time up until now when I work for myself. So you would think it would be a little bit easier to kind of make a schedule. It's not. So before, when I was working all the time, I kind of had to fit it in, wherever. Usually my plan was to write every day. It usually didn't happen until the very end when I was realizing that my deadline was a few weeks away and then I was crying and writing at the same time. It's still work, but it always got done.
Yeah.
It's done. So now I'm really trying to get to a better schedule for myself, just so I can keep my hands in it every day. I am writing 2 books this year, so trying to work on, my contracted one in the morning and then my other one that doesn't have a contract yet later in the day when I have more time.
Well, see, I'm different because I consider myself lazy and undisciplined, yet I get out more books than most people.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I do it
It's true.
because I did it with raising a family, having a full-time job. I just retired like 3 weeks ago and I've got
Don't let
like
you brag
6
about
projects
things.
going on and it's just, and in the middle of one book, I will stop and start another one or start a short story or do something else. It's terribly undisciplined, but I do like to finish things and get them out. So it works. It works for me, but I wouldn't suggest it for anybody else because they'd go crazy.
I also find I have to write out a lot. It's hard for me to write in my house because I don't have a separate room for an office. My office is my living room. And so.
And
I have
cats.
And I have a cat and I have a TV. And so usually the TV is on because I'm obsessed with TV. So for me, a lot of my writing happens at the Barnes and Noble in Hingham. I'm in that Starbucks a lot.
Shout out.
At the library, at the Abington Public Library, shout out. And just trying to find if when it's not 1,000 degrees out, I do like to write outside on my deck, because again, I'm away from it. Usually when it's a day game for baseball, I like to have that on in the background, right? But yeah, I don't have a specific space. But that's because my house is tiny.
I have my upstairs office and that's where it all happens. Of course, we're writing all the time in our heads.
Yeah.
That's the trouble. The faucet does not turn off. We're taking a shower, we're going for a walk, we're sitting for coffee with friends. Anytime the idea comes up, hold on, let me write this down. It happens.
They have a thing now where they have a shower pad that you can write.
My daughter got me one. Yes,
Did she?
it's up in the
Okay.
shower, yeah.
That's the thing I always forget. I'm like, I need to get one of those, because that's when you're like washing your hair, like the killer.
It's the unconscious that brings up the really good ideas. And when you're not focusing on it, the unconscious goes, psst, psst,
Yeah.
how about this? And you're like, oh, that's awesome. Wait till I get out of the shower and then you forget.
Yeah.
Well, when you're
Immediately.
obsessing about it,
Yeah.
like I am when it's a week before my
Oh, yeah.
deadline, then it's not really happening very easily, so.
And I think it's also because as an indie author, I don't really have they haven't put me on a deadline.
I set
yet.
my own deadline.
Yeah, and I think that's probably a little bit difference between the traditionally published authors. You got a contract and they're like, yeah, every 6 months, I want your book, dang it, or I want 2 books. And I think that's, it's hard.
Yeah.
But also motivating.
It is,
Yeah.
deadline's
It's
the best
both, yeah.
motivator.
But I can't do that. I want
I
to work
remember that
on
I
my
published,
schedule, not
like-
somebody else's.
I would
That's,
finish it like the night before because I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, now I'm motivated and I got A's.
Trust me,
So
trust me. It's been my MO my entire life.
I love
I've lost 20,000 words rushed.
Yeah, that works.
Do your friends and family either get upset when a character mimics them, or do they want to be in your books?
is a strong word.
Don't even notice.
Yeah.
people.
Right.
Paint them in a bad light. They never think it's true. It's
No,
them.
they never think it's them.
And I have no family and very few friends, so they're not in there. They're
No,
not.
my mom.
I got too many others.
My mom couldn't read my whole book because she said the character was me. And so she heard me in the character and she's like, I can't read your book because it's like just listening to you. She's like, so just tell me what happened. So I did, because like, I love my mom. Yeah, so they don't recognize themselves, but they're like, they're like, that character is you.
Mhm.
That character is your brother or whatever. Even if it's not, they think they see it.
There's a great movie, The Anniversary Party, where they think Jennifer Jason Leigh and Alan Cumming. And he wrote this movie and every woman he's ever met thinks it's her. And he goes at the end, he goes, it's every woman I've ever met, all in one. And they're all
That's
like,
like the Friends episode where the waiter wrote the poem, The Empty Vase, and Monica thought it was all about her. And he's like, no, it's not about you. It's about all women. So yeah, it's a theme.
It also seems that you're not as obsessed with. Well, I want to know because I don't know this. It seems like you're not obsessed with style. You just, like what you were saying, is that you have an idea, you think of it, and you go and you write it down. As opposed to, I think maybe one of the problems with, I don't know, I use the word challenge of literary writers, there's so much behind them. So you have to say, well, you want to write traditionally, or do you want to do something original and innovative? But it seems that what you do is perhaps healthier, is that I'm gonna write my story. I think it was you who said, yeah, I'll write the draft, and then I will spend the rest of those months to clean it all up. I'm not concerned about writing this line so poetically.
Yes,
Yeah,
not the
that
first
kind of-
time
The
through.
first draft is always
Right.
not great.
And I
Not always,
do
but-
agree with Toni Morrison. I mean, I have a great deal of awe for women writers because, I mean, except the ones that don't have any children like
Yeah.
yourself. But that don't mean no, I didn't.
No, just kidding. No, I know what you mean.
Here's the
Extra
challenge.
time. I mean, there's a lot of mothers who have a job and a
That's
full-time
right,
job.
because
taking
I
care of
even
kids.
consider it very hard to write until I say, stop it. When you have a woman, she has 2 kids or 3 kids, she's writing while the children go to bed.
Or-
She gets them up, take care of them, take care of the husband, come on.
Or you just gotta support a partner, right?
Yeah.
I'm looking at the married lady.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
Her husband works.
yeah, no, I could not, I write full-time and I could not do that if I didn't have a husband with a job with health insurance.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, the hardest writing I've ever done was during the pandemic,
Mhm,
when,
agreed.
I like to be alone when I write, like, do not talk to me, like, cause I am like trying to conjure an entire universe with all these characters in it in a specific setting, and they're all doing their own things, and I'm listening for their dialogue, and I'm trying to do all of this during the pandemic, and there's my daughter like, my Zoom school won't load, what? And my husband's like, look at this funny thing I found on her. And here comes the dog with his squeaky hedgehog, because he couldn't go to doggy daycare. And every time you could practically hear the world shatter, you know, like it all comes crashing down. And then I would have to like work to get it back up off the ground again. And my husband's like, look at this other funny thing on Twitter. And I'm like, stop showing me Twitter things.
It all depends. The great thing is, there are a lot of rules about writing, but nobody knows what they are. Because
I like that.
it's everybody's individual style. There are 1,000 different ways to create a book, and the type of book you create. I've written some cozies, I've written some hard-boiled, I've written science fiction, horror, end of the world stuff, literary, everything. It doesn't matter. We're writers, and writers write. We have stories to tell, and it doesn't matter. Literary writers are interested in the carrying on of the style. We're interested in telling a story,
Your
a
story.
really good story, and telling it well. And that's what we're interested in. And some people can do it better than others. You know, Raymond Chandler took the mystery genre and elevated it into literary.
Yeah, most definitely, yeah.
So I'm surprised you didn't say Stephen King was one of your.
I
favorite
know.
writers.
Oh, we have to
Absolutely,
write a
but
letter.
you know, there's a lot of people that diss him for what he's done, but he's written every day for over 60 years.
Well,
And when you
also-
do that, you really get good at what you
But
do.
it's also the same thing with Patterson, like we all say Patterson.
Yeah, okay.
But no, but like I'm saying, because
They're
he
not.
has, no, I mean, they're not the same author, but they know what they write.
Also not the same.
They know what they write,
They
they
know
know
their
what
lane.
their audience wants, and they don't write to the snobs like us, they don't write to the.
They
I
don't
mean,
write to their critics,
Ex-
they write
right.
what Stephen said.
Exactly,
for the
like I
reader.
love Clive Cussler, it's a misogynistic adventure tale, but it's entertaining, so I'm gonna still like it, I know what it is.
And he
I
always
know what
makes
I'm gonna
himself
get.
into the story.
And exactly, I know what I'm
Here
gonna
we
get. And I think that's why genre writing is so important,
You
and,
can't write a story that everybody would
Right.
like.
oh,
So
for
you
sure.
have to figure out like where your lane
Mhm.
is. So when I wrote my first book and I won the contest, I didn't think I was gonna win because all of the books that had won before me were lighter. So they were more historical mysteries or cozy mysteries. They had puns in the titles and stuff like that, which is great, but it's not what I had written. I had written a book about a serial killer who cuts off people's hands. So I entered and I was very surprised when I won the contest. And then my editor was my very first editor and she sent it back to me and I'm not big into gore. So there's a serial killer who cuts off people's hands, but it's not on screen. Like
Right.
you're not watching it happen. It's just mentioned that it happens. There's not a lot of gore, but it is kind of a serious subject. And so the editor had gone through and like removed all the references to stuff the serial killer did.
Oh,
Like he was still in the story, but it now became very nebulous about anything he was doing. Like there was a scene at the end where the heroine confronts the serial killer in his lair and it's mentioned she sees a bloody bucket and a hacksaw or whatever. And she's like, the editor's crossing that out. And I'm like, well, it's his lair. What do you think? There's like a bowl of Skittles and posters of him. Like this would be
It's
creepy in a
unicorn
different
stuffed
way,
animal, yeah.
right? But so she took it all out and I'm like, I wrote to her, I said, I think we disagree about what this book is. Like, and she said, no, but there's gonna be people, like people who read cozies that aren't gonna like that. And I'm like, well, they're not my readers. Like they should read other books that are the things they're going to like,
Right.
because she seemed to think it was like this boat and that if we made it, you know, big enough and perfect enough, we could get all the readers on it. But I'm like, no, you're trying to get the cozy people on one side and the thriller people are getting off on the other side. Like, this is boring. You
And that's
can't satisfy everybody. So you have to sort of decide what is your story and write that.
And your cover should reflect what's on the inside. If you see, a bloody hands on the cover, you're not gonna think it's a cozy. You're not gonna think it's a regular police procedural. But if it's got, some knitting and a cat and, a picture out the seaside window, you get the idea of what type of story it's gonna be, probably, and it should reflect that. Yes, there are mismatches and it happens, but the nice thing is being independent, you get to pick your story the way you want to tell it. The editor does not tell you, don't put the bloody hands in. If you
Or
want
they
them in
do,
there,
and you
you
say,
stick them right in.
No, I'm putting them in.
I'm
Let's
gonna
be
put
fair.
more bloody hands
I
in
put it
it.
all back
Which is
in.
good.
Yeah,
She did.
But
I
that was-
officially published,
yeah.
I have an editor. I control what goes in the pages.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. 'cause
Which
you-
is unusual. A lot of times you don't because they're like, no, it's gotta be this way or else. You're like, "Mhm."
And I was really impressed when you said that you made it in English, but your conversation gave the impression that.
It's not your first language.
That is not lucrative?
No, that I'm not a snob, I'm not a snob, I'm not spending all my time, because I was an English major, to try to
Oh.
write the perfect sentence. And then you had the audacity to say, I have a television.
Yeah.
Which I know a lot
Yeah,
of snotty.
I don't like TV, come on.
Right, they call.
There's
it
so many
the
good shows.
Indian yeah.
And reruns of Friends.
Well,
I'll
we take ourselves seriously. No, we don't take ourselves seriously, but we take the craft
Right.
Right.
very seriously.
Right.
And we know what you're not supposed to do, and we know what's really that's just junk.
But
And we admit that there is junk out there, and that's fine, and there's really good stuff out there too. We like going for the good stuff. I try to put layers in that it's a good cracking adventure yarn, but there's layers and layers where the careful reader goes, ooh, look at that, there's something more to it.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that's it. And like I said it before, just because I don't like it, doesn't mean somebody else doesn't like it. So I'm not gonna yuck your yum if you're like, I like serial killers with their hands getting chopping off people's hands. Like, that's not my thing, but I'm not gonna be like, ugh, gross, you're the worst. I can't even believe you write that. Like, no, because that's just not my thing. And that's kind of how I look at the world these days too. It's like, that's not my thing, but I'm not gonna. I love Taylor Swift. If you don't like Taylor Swift, that's fine, but don't tell me, oh, she's a bad singer, we don't like her. Why are
Go
you,
somewhere else.
right, exactly, nobody's forcing you. I don't have a gun to your head.
I like, yeah, that helped me when I was very young. There was probably, I don't know whether you remember or not, but there was a white Southern writer by the name of William Styron.
Styron,
And he wrote the book, The Confessions
Of Nat Turner.
Okay.
And I remember there was a certain uproar about it, and Baldwin was in the middle of it.
Mm.
But I think that he answered it rather well. If you don't like it, write your own.
Yep, that's exactly it. And people are saying, well, if you're not X, you can't write about this culture. And I'm like, we do it all the time.
All
I
the
mean,
time.
we don't write what we know, we write science fiction. Okay, I haven't been to space.
Right,
Okay, but there was truth. In Siren's work, there was a truth
right.
that was universal.
And
And
emotional
he wasn't
too.
trying to, adapt the culture, for profit or anything. He was telling a damn fine story from a viewpoint,
Yeah.
and it worked. But yes, the blowback was, oh, well, you're not of that culture, so you can't write about that culture. It's still going on today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's okay.
All right.
Right.
I think that's 30, guys.
Wrap it
Thank you
up.
all so much for coming. Thank you, everybody who attended via Zoom.
Yes, thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you. It was wonderful.
And I think, Mom, you said you've read, Liz's books, right?
Yes, I have. Thank you.
Nice.
you.
And you like them.
Is that your mom?
It is.